What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite New York Jets subscription podcast, Badlands. I'm your host, Joe Caporoso, joined as always by Connor Rodgers and by longtime friend of the pod, host of Heat the Call, friend of the Underdog family, an annual tradition, a biannual tradition. Dan Hanzus, usually on under more optimistic circumstances, but this is not that. It is the bye week, dig through the pile of garbage conversation. Connor, Dan, how we feeling? How we doing?
I mean, I'm dying to know Dan's thoughts right out of the gate. Like the last time we talked to you this has got to be the year where you feel good about things, optimistic about things, and somehow we are looking at a 3-win football team after week 11.
This has been a tough one. I think this has been the most disappointing Jet season of all time when you factor everything in. And I remember when we did the show before the season started, and I did have trepidation because there was a house of cards to it. And if it's the Jets and it's a house of cards situation where it can go one way or the other, it typically does go the wrong way. But you just allow yourself to dream. And I'll give them this, and I won't give them anything else. Like their ability to surprise you with how far the bottom actually can be is what this has separated this season. I don't think anybody thought that it could get this bad. Like, and with Aaron Rodgers on the field, like it's not like he got hurt again and the season went off and they had health issues. No, like I wouldn't say they've been clean of the injury bug, but there is no reason that they should be one of the worst teams in football. And yet here we are. It's stunning. It's painful and it sucks. And great to see you guys.
It's never a normal bad season, and it's never normal losses, right? They have all these one possession games that they tease you a little bit, they get you excited, and then they rip your heart out at the end with, Zerline missing a field goal in the rain against Denver, Rodgers missing Garrett Wilson for the game-winning touchdown against the Vikings, the very predictable repeat game-losing drive from the defense against the Patriots and the Colts now. It has been, I agree that this team has exceeded 2016 in terms of unlikability. And in terms of biggest disappointments, like, yes, this is like 1999, 2011 level. And 99 was due to a major injury. 2011, at least they teased you. They were 8-5. This season is like, this is like year one for Douglas Gase, like 3-8 after 11 games, or 4-7 after 11 games. And I guess let's start with the quarterback position. We've gotten 11 games of Aaron Rodgers. The numbers on paper look okay, but if you watched him play, he's not anything near what Jet fans were hoping for. Do you want to see him back in 2025? And do you think he will be back in 2025 as of this recording on the Jets bye week?
I don't think he'll be back. And I don't know if I know he said somewhat sheepishly that he was looking to come back, but you never know what that guy actually is, behind the words that he's saying. He's not a very straightforward individual, but like more than anything else, and I tweeted about it yesterday in the third quarter of the game, and this was when they had gotten back in the game and taken the lead, but to me, it was really jumping out that it felt like Rodgers has kind of quiet quit on the season. He's still going out there. He's still playing. He's got a paycheck he's got to earn. He's not going to bow out and fake an injury or anything. But the way he carries himself in the pocket now, it's very clear to me that it's not a coincidence that he no longer is targeting anyone downfield and the ball's out of his hands as fast as possible. He's got the happy feet in the pocket. He never seems to let plays develop. He doesn't go through his progressions like we expected. He doesn't even peek downfield. And I know the personnel factors in there, but I feel like the biggest goal is I can't get hit because I feel like I'm one hit away from getting hurt. So I'm just getting the ball out. And you can't have an explosive offense when the quarterback is set up that way. So the way he's playing the game doesn't seem to me like this is some warrior that's going out on his shield. This isn't Brett Favre in the 2009 NFC title game with the Vikings. This is a guy that's sorry to bring up Brett Favre, that we don't need that either right now. But like that's it. He doesn't seem like a guy that the passion is there. And when he goes to his darkness retreat, I would think he would come back thinking, if I come back to football, it's not going to be with the Jets. I need to get myself in a place that's a much more functional setup because the Jets have a lot of work to do to get this thing back to functionality. And why would a 41-year-old guy want to be involved with that?
Yeah, Dan, it looks like to me sometimes he gets to the line of scrimmage, and I think this was the original problem when they couldn't get a playoff a couple weeks ago. He's trying to have things set up so perfect because he's not going to hold the ball back there to extend a play. And you see these miscommunications with Conklin, you see it with all different kinds of guys. And we're at the point now where you look at the last game, and it's on Rodgers. He's missing Garrett Wilson, he's missing throws, he's not pushing the ball down the field. Getting away from him, because you're the perfect person to ask this, covering league wide on Heed the Call. The Jets right now, it's no secret, it's looking like Woody Johnson will probably be going overseas at some point in the next year. They are probably going to be making significant hires at head coach and GM this offseason. We don't know if Rodgers is going to be back or not. What is the attraction level of this job? I mean, they could legitimately play themselves into a top 10, top 5 pick right now, which is what it's looking like. But this organization has a reputation of, being dysfunctional, having problems from the top down, and the fact that you're going to have a little bit of a Joe Douglas mess to clean up as well.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, Connor. I don't know what in terms of, we have to see what the choices are for the top candidates out there, obviously. But yeah, it's a bit of a mess because you still will have talented young players on the roster that you could, as foundational pieces, obviously Brees and Sauce, if he can get things back together, Garrett Wilson, there's some pieces on the offensive line, the Williams brothers. So yeah, there still is a core. So that's a positive, right? And then fixing the Jets. Everyone thinks they could fix the Jets. So I don't think a candidate is going to run away because the Jets just are historically inept. But I would be a little jumpy about who is the owner? Like, is it Woody? Is it going to be Chris? And you're going to do some research on how things went with Chris last time he was around. Not good. And you're also going to keep in mind that what happened in October with Saleh, which was a dismissal that happened out of the blue that apparently was the owner that made the decision, although I still think Rodgers played a role in that, and the GM wasn't even consulted. Like, that would be scary to me. So there is some dysfunction with the organization that would scare me, but there is a core of good players. There's going to be a premium draft pick, and I think, and there's only so many of these gigs. So I do think there is a high end guy that they can import. Do they have the right people to choose the right person? And that's the other part of this, because when's the last time that happened?
Yeah, I mean, do they go back to the search firm? Do they go back to the consultant? Is it just Chris and Woody making the call?
Just not Charlie Casserly, right?
Yeah, Charlie Casserly, Corn Ferry. There's rumors of them bringing in Curtis Martin to consult on the decision now, which honestly,
sure, we'll have Curtis.
Sure.
Oh.
Quick story on that, guys. Real quick story. When I was at NFL Media, I was in the break room one day. This is years ago now, and there's Charlie Casserly. It's right when the hirings were happening. I was like, "Hey, Charlie, so you feel good about these recommendations?" Yeah, see, these guys are real straight shooters. They're going to get you back on track, see? It's like, oh, God.
And McCagnon had the look that would go with that, with the hat and the glasses and the 600 cups of coffee. So I think, Joe Douglas is going to be done here. He is going to go down in a Matt Millen type bucket from a record perspective. Right now, he's 30-64. Let's say he finishes 31-69. He's given 100 games. This is Jets GM. I believe that's their
incredible
longest tenured GM and second maybe in franchise history. Maybe they all bleed together. McCagnon, Idzik, Douglas, everything post Tannenbaum and Rex. What is going to be remembered about this era of Jets football, which spans Adam Gase, Sam Darnold, Robert Saleh, Jeff Ulbrich, Zach Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Mike White, Trevor Siemian? It's been a long time. This has been a long running thing since they moved off of the Bowles-McCagnon hierarchy. How is this going to be remembered? And I do think one thing that people generally get wrong about the Jets is that they're not patient. Like, Douglas got 100 games. Saleh got 4.5 seasons. The timing was weird. They should have just fired him before the season. But is this what will you remember about this era? And due to the Jets being this patient, is that something that can be used to help recruit people that look, this dude won 30 out of his first 100 games, and we gave him 100 games, so we will be patient. But what will you remember of these beautiful 6 years that extended the playoff drought?
Yeah, I think I'll remember it as it being a very Jets thing in that, patience not being rewarded. And usually teams that have, and there's a lot of people, like I know a buddy of mine, Daniel Jeremiah, who's tight with Joe Douglas and worked with Joe Douglas. And I remember talking to him about Douglas, like, this guy's the real deal. You're in such good hands now. And everybody said that about Douglas. Like, you got somebody here. And then you look, it took time, but they flushed out all the Gase McCagnon era, and they built this really good core, and they whiffed on the quarterback, Wilson. I think that is obviously always going to be what ruined it, right? Because that led to the chain reaction of wasting the years of Zach Wilson and then the Aaron Rodgers, which is going to go down as, a historic misfire for the franchise. So to me, it's like you can do a lot of good things, and Joe Douglas has done a lot of good things in terms of building up the roster. But it's that quarterback position. If you can't figure that out, if you whiff on the rookie pick and then they pivoted and took the chance on a bit of a shortcut with Rodgers and it just didn't work out, that if they just could have figured it out with the quarterback, and I don't like to be reductive and just be like it always goes back to the quarterback, but it really did feel like that would have made the big difference if they had someone there that they could build around as a young passer like the Patriots now have with Drake May, or insert, high level Bo Nix quarterback right now, or Jaden Daniels. Like, if you could have paired a young passer with upside that showed real juice with this roster, we could have been talking about the Jets as, a big time contender, but they couldn't figure that out. And then there was just, quite frankly, it just felt like they've been snake bit, whether it was injuries and the way these games this year have ended. It's just painful. It's like a big time what if era with Joe Douglas, because it wasn't a total disaster. To me, it's not Matt Millen. You're right, because I know you're not saying it. Record wise, it's Matt Millen, but it wasn't that. And I think that's part of why everyone's scratching their head about how did this get so bad, because everything made sense on paper, but none of it played out the right way. Frustration.
Right. They felt close at times, and Douglas got something that not a lot of GMs get. He got a chance to kind of recover and react to his mistakes, whether it was going for Rodgers after they missed on Zach Wilson. The miss on Becton, to me, Dan, spiraled out of control.